Sarah.
Sarah. I don't know the next line. Storm in your eyes, something like that. That's the kind of music Ronnie likes to listen to when she gets all melancholy.
What's wrong with her?
I don't know. She goes to 80s. What I noticed in Indonesia is they took all of these love songs, like the 80s love songs, and somehow they seeped all the way down to Indonesia.
I like 80s and 90s R&B. Like, I'll listen to that when I'm cooking and grooving at home.
Okay, well.
Anyway, today, Andy, we have a special show on with a special guest.
This is one of these random, you know what I like is that like yesterday's show, we do parenting,
hand in hand,
hand-in-hand parenting. Really, that now we're pulling into a wholly different direction of just what is life like as a private investigator.
Don't forget that we
haven't done the intro yet.
We've also had Murder, She Wrote, remember?
Oh yeah, we had the guy from Murder, She Wrote on, of course. Yeah, nice.
So Andy, we're gonna do all this
but we got to announce her for the podcast, so we have to make it sound good.
Go on.
We've got Sarah Alcorn on for the hour, and we're going to discuss a life as a private investigator on
A Wonderful Chaos, people.
And we like it that way. Bye-bye. Yes, Bambos, to meet you.
So we just laughed during the intro song just because Andy says goodbye.
Yeah, I was already ready to go. It's Friday.
Bye, guys.
Thank you for being with us on this show. So this is one of these, after we passed 100 podcast episodes.
We rocked.
Yeah, we really did a lot in a very short time.
And what I loved about, we actually developed a pattern, like every week we had a kind of theme, but this week is a wonderful chaos.
Yeah, it is really a wonderful chaos. It's been across the board. I don't think any two episodes have been the same on this one, including the one where we just, randomly had no guest and we did what we did. And Bola Long, who is our active viewer and listener, he asked us, for those that are going to be listening on the podcast, we have a lady. And it was, what about the lady dancer behind the wonderful host?
It's a Charlie's Angel, Bulilang. Charlie's Angel.
That was a good pick. I didn't have that. I mean, Sarah is attractive. She's a beautiful woman, Bulilang. And I thought, let's make it a sexy investigator. So that was sort of the angle I was going for today. I just thought, let's think about something. And what Vamos and I are very aware of is these pictures in the center, we'll get a conversion of maybe 10 or 20% more if someone thinks this looks like an interesting image. So,
and they'll click on us and they'll watch a bit and then they'll realize, it's a private investigator.
What are we doing here? So I was doing some hunting for shows. I just thought I'll go to these podcast sort of groups on Facebook and look through interesting people.
That's what you do when you're home with COVID and nothing to do.
Yeah. And what happened is that I saw that Sarah was on in the group, or her friend who was sort of publishing some of the stuff that Sarah was doing, and I said, "Yeah, I'm ready to have a weird," because I mean, there's such a fascinate. You know me, I like taking fascinating subjects that I just am curious about and asking random questions. Yes.
No.
Some people we haven't been able to get on. I've still been looking for somebody that's, what was the
Russell Brand?
Yeah, well, Russell, we love Russell.
And Wim Hof.
Wim Hof, yeah. You're with Wim Hof. I'm Russell Brand. I'd also like
one more.
Well, I'm always wanting somebody who works at a mortuary. So maybe because Sarah's dealing with this, we can find somebody who works. I want someone who works at a mortuary. I want to understand what that life looks like. Yeah.
And we want also David Goggins.
Yeah, David Goggins. That's you always go for the people who are well established,
Sarah's well established.
Yes, she is. She went to Harvard, and the beauty is going to Harvard and then ending up a private investigator. That story also is something that just makes no sense in my head, but I'm sure that's why it makes her so curious. So,
understand why.
Looking at my hair?
Yeah, it just sticks out.
Yeah, it's just how it is, man. It's what happens when you get my age. I say we bring her on.
Are you sure?
Well, you want to talk some more? I'll talk some more.
Let's bring her on. Ladies and gentlemen, with no further ado, we bring you and I
want to see how far I can force you to keep talking before I bring her on.
That's as good as it gets. We just peaked.
Hello.
Hi, you guys are so fun. Good morning. How are you? How are you doing?
We're good. You see, this is what happens when you do it daily. All of a sudden, there's a delirium that takes over, and you just sort of like wander. Your brain goes everywhere.
Oh, it's really, really fun. Thank God. I mean, good sense of humor. I have to tell you, where are you guys located? Where
We're
are
in
you at?
Amsterdam,
I'm in
Cent-
Disneyland.
in the center of Amsterdam.
Disneyland.
You are not. You're in Amsterdam?
Yeah,
No,
we're in
come
Amsterdam.
on. Both of you are pulling my leg. I'm not that
Are you
gullible.
pulling a leg?
No, we're not pulling you like we
1
are now
second.
in Amsterdam. This is Amsterdam. Yes. I'm on the 9 streets of Amsterdam, right in the center
Canal
of the city.
area.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, I have to tell you something. If you look, it is snowing in Boston.
Wow.
How crazy is that?
I
That's
love
wild.
it.
I know, me too. It's the day before Halloween. So
Oh
that's our
yeah.
exciting news over here,
That's fun.
It's
Yeah.
just raining here.
Just raining as it always does in Amsterdam. So
Oh, yeah.
yeah,
No,
we don't. I wish it got cold enough that we get snow, but that doesn't happen all that often.
Yeah, it's that really. I've been to Amsterdam. It's that like cold, European kind of rain.
It's like gets into your bones kind of cold.
Yeah,
Like
and
it's
they
a
don't know
very
how to
different.
heat, and they don't know how to heat things. I'm sorry to say, like they're not,
You know.
Anyway, so
Why did you look like that, Bambos?
I didn't get it, but
Okay, Bambos gets up every morning, literally at 4 in the morning, and he jumps into a cold bath every single morning. So he has a very different view on cold than the most of the people.
so when I saw the snow, I was like, "Oh my god, I'd like to immerse myself
yeah,
in
he
there."
would jump in that.
all right. So I have to ask you where you're from, though.
I'm from Cyprus.
Oh, you are. Oh, very, very interesting. Very interesting.
I had to figure out a way to fall in love with the cold.
Mm.
So now when like it's really I found a way to fall in love with the cold.
Very directly.
Yeah.
Clearly. Well, I love the snow. I'm sorry. No, this is utterly nothing to do with private investigation.
Not supposed to.
But I put on I put on all my warm clothes and I went and I took a big walk in the snow. I absolutely love it. So you have to embrace it. So
Are you one of those
right,
people holding their iPhone and making 100 pictures as they walk?
No, not at all.
Oh,
That's
that would be you.
that's
Yeah,
my
of course. I love
that's my
that.
partner. No, I'm way too not at all.
Yes. I shoot about 300 to 500 pictures on a good day when
So-
I'm in the mood.
So I have a first question now,
Nice.
and I'm just going to go straight to the point and deep. Have you ever investigated your partner?
Nice.
No, but somebody should, man. No, my partner's like me. She's a total open book. We're both like, yeah, I did this in my 20s. I did that in my 20s. And now, whatever, it's,
But I mean, there's no maybe potential like of a whole different backstory you never knew about. Like,
God, I hope there is. It'll be a great episode. I'll be like, Laura, you didn't tell me you got indicted on, wire fraud.
yeah, exactly.
No, I really don't think so. I mean, you have to meet Laura. She's like kind of New Yorky, and what you see is what you get. She's like, I hate that person, or she's like, she's great though.
You even did the New York accent that I know from film. So cool.
From Boston, all the way from Boston to New York. How do you go from having a prestigious university, all of the recognition of having a Harvard diploma, and then become a private investigator?
Like, what the hell were you thinking?
What happened? Like your parents, I guarantee you, your parents were thinking that our child is going to turn into what? Oh, a private investigator.
A shaft.
Oh, my parents were horrified. Let me tell you. No, they weren't. I mean, I come from. So I actually come from pretty much an art background, and I worked very hard in high school. I got into Harvard, blah blah blah, on a scholarship, and but I'm also a complete crime head. I'm totally crime obsessed, and I've known this about myself since I was about 10 years old or so. So I wanted to make a career out of it, and I love
Wow.
solving puzzles, and so I wanted to I wasn't scientifically oriented enough to really get into forensics, but I know a lot about forensics because it fascinates me. It is what that's what I love to do. So
That's
I
fascinating. So
yeah,
this isn't something necessarily just stumbled upon. You actually had like kind of a predisposition to move in this direction.
very much so. I had like the encyclopedia we were just talking about this. Actually, Laura and I were on the Melissa Rivers show a few days which just aired a few days ago, and Melissa Rivers talks about having the encyclopedia of serial killers. And I was like, check. I like have every true crime book that's, ever been published out there. And yeah, it's my passion.
Right.
It's
I
my
can give you a little fun fact.
yeah.
My cousin was the defense attorney for the Menendez brothers and for the Hillside Strangler.
Oh, no, you mean Abrams.
Chaleff,
Oh,
Jerry
okay.
Chaleff.
Oh, Chalif. Okay. Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
so we
Oh,
have we've got some interesting blood in the family.
We
I
had,
was
I
gonna
think we had his
say,
father on the show, right?
if it's Leslie Abrams, man, she seems like a real firebrand. I was like, hell of a cousin there. But no, that's very interesting, though.
Yeah, it was
Did
interesting to have him because whenever I went to school and courses, then the teachers would, because the court cases were so big in the 80s that whenever I was going to school, there wasn't many people with that last name. So everyone knew that we were family because there weren't that many Chaleffs in the US.
very
Yeah.
interesting. Yeah.
Mm.
But so,
Oh,
no,
go ahead.
No, Curse, you've turned
We're
me.
going to reverse the roles here.
You
We
can't
always reverse. No, we reverse the roles on this show. Actually, we actually do that quite often. So, what question would you like to ask us?
Well, see, it's also my job to ask people really, prying, annoying questions.
That's
So
great.
that's, I can't help going into that mode. No, anyway, I'll ply you about the Menendez brothers later. So
Oh.
I have plenty of questions for your
Bambos
cousin.
I can't get him on the show. I think in some ways, I don't know. He said he might come on for us, but I think in some ways, I think it's just probably too, people were murdered. I don't know how comfortable it is talking about those sort of things, but yeah.
It's true. The thing I think with the Menendez brothers, for the interesting part to me is how they were presented in the media, what the actuality of the abuse was between the
Mm.
parents and the
But
sons. Which
let me interrupt you quickly because Bambos is next to me. He doesn't know any cultural or pop culture or this. So the Menendez brothers were two brothers that come from a wealthy family, and then they hired a hitman, I believe it was, to kill their parents.
Okay.
And then
no, they killed their parents
Oh,
themselves.
they killed their parents
Yes,
themselves.
yeah.
For
So,
the money.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
yeah. And it was all kinds of allegations of abuse, and that's why they did it, and it was imminent abuse, and
Yeah.
there's some question, but they're painted as being greedy, spoiled kids who bumped their parents off for money.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
So,
the story that made the
yeah.
news.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you go to Harvard. How long is it after you finish that you actually go into this job? And how does one, like, how do you become, because it's kind of like the random thing. Anyone who goes into a job has to find customers and clients. So
Yeah.
in some ways you have to build up some reputation. So where do you start?
Well, that's an interest. So I actually I went out to LA, and I worked in the movie business. I worked on making props and special effects props and scenery for movies, set decoration, all of that kind of stuff. That was my initial thing. I had a great time. I partied my head off when I was in my early 20s. And then I came back here and I thought, eesh, I really need to I just took a break. I really said, what do I really, really want to do? And so I didn't stumble into this. I applied to the FBI. I thought might become a police officer. I looked into forensics. I took the GREs. Yeah, it was a long
Mm,
process. Finally, I met somebody who was also a Harvard person who was a private investigator and
mm,
who was not as in love with this field as I was, and he's still a very good friend of mine. And I I really stalked him until he hired me and kind of twisted his arm. And
wow.
I love it.
I mean,
So-
he probably was thinking to himself, you're not serious. You don't really want to be doing this, I guess.
oh, and I was very serious. I
Uh,
mean, very, very serious. My joke is that he took me took me to the worst projects in Boston on a horrible stabbing case. It was dangerous and gritty. And I was like, I'm hooked, man. I love this, like, all day long, and yeah, I've been
So
doing.
tell us about like the first case. So you're raw, you're just coming off, you don't know what the hell you're doing, and then you have to bluff your way that I actually am a private investigator the first week or two, of course, at least.
Yeah, I mean, he pretty quickly after, like, gave me, like, my own notebook. And it's so exciting because what you get is you get this inside view on sometimes cases that are in the press. You really do get the inside track, and you get to talk to witnesses, and you get to talk to the defendant, and go into the jail and talk to these people who will give you they'll give you a viewpoint on a case that you don't get from just reading newspapers about it, basically.
Mm.
That is one of the things I've oftentimes in my job wanted to turn around and be like, "Can you believe what this person just told me?" That's really what, and it has been, and it's been such an education too, because I have spoken to literally like tens of thousands of people over my career, and people all walks of life. I mean, you name it, I've talked to the people. It's like there's no room for any kind of generalization in my life, I
Mm,
guess, and I'm so grateful for that. It's such an education that normally I don't think somebody like me would really have,
mm,
it's given me such an appreciation for, other people, other
yeah.
cultures, other, it's a very, it's and sometimes very desperate or very sad or very, too, as
Yeah.
well. It's not
Um,
all
I'm
positive.
gonna I'm gonna point my finger like this because I want Bambos, because he's nudging my leg, to ask you a question.
Oh, okay.
Sometimes it's too fast for me. So I have to underpoke him, or I have to do this. How has being a private investigator shaped the way you experience the world?
Hmm.
I think that, I really do. Okay, without sounding like, I grew up in Cambridge anyway, and I consider myself sort of a citizen of the world very much, and am curious about the world and different cultures, different history. I've always been that way. I think sometimes um, when I look at some of the problems that are facing my own country and many other countries of divisions between people, I wish people could just sit down and talk to each other and go and come to some kind of understanding. I know that sounds so kumbaya kind of thing, but I really do think until you get to know and speak to people, that it's hard it's really hard to look at anybody as the other once you've sat
Mm.
down and really talked to people and understood their particular circumstances, or what makes them angry, or what makes them happy, or
Mm,
their care for their kids, the whole 9 yards, basically. So yes, it's very much shaped my idea of the world, different people. I live in a very diverse neighborhood. I love diversity. To me, like, diversity is American, like it
mm,
should be an American virtue kind of thing. And it's anyway, that's how I roll, but not, anyway, no judgment for
mm.
anybody who doesn't, but that's what I like, so
I want to be a little bit more specific, because hearing you speak, I realized it was a bit too broad.
yeah.
And like, being a private investigator, do you experience yourself as having the same kind of investigative way of seeing the world while interacting in normal circumstances? And what kind of discoveries do you?
Like if someone says something suspicious when you're with them, do you automatically say that's bullshit? And like in
Oh,
your brain, like,
oh God, yeah. No, absolutely.
Look at her face.
You really, I really try to keep my eye rolling to a minimum, but sometimes you're just writing stuff down, and you're like, mostly I hate to say it, but with a lot of defendants too, it's like, you're writing can I swear on this show?
Of
Yes,
course.
please.
Okay,
Fuck
okay.
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. It's like you're writing shit down that is like, the witnesses don't exist. It's complete crap. They're sending you out on errands that are not going to materialize
Mm.
anything, and they're just doing it to make it seem, to try to convince you that they're innocent somehow, and
Yeah.
you're like, dude, don't waste my time. You know what I mean? We know this person isn't a real person, and yeah, I mean, people, they lie all the time. They
Mm.
just do, so.
But I mean, if I'm looking at if I can, if I'm looking at a breakdown of how, because just in the short time you've spoken, I kind of had this vision of you getting calls from women saying, "I think my husband's cheating on me."
Oh, I do get calls like that a lot.
And what
The
percentage? Just give me a percentage. If we say out of 20 calls, or say 100 calls in a year, like what percentage would be the people that say my husband's cheating on me or my wife is?
Probably 7-8%, I would say.
Okay.
Yep. And I usually talk myself out of those jobs because they're usually somebody who they already know the person's cheating,
Isn't
and
it
I
true?
and I
Wow.
kind of go like, don't add insult to injury by hiring somebody like me to, I think the thing that people nobody likes to be gaslit, if you guys know what that means.
Yeah.
And almost what that means is like, I don't know if it means like when someone is pretending to do something and pretending that they're not, basically. So it's like it
Mm.
drives somebody crazy when you do that, because it's like, "Oh, honey, you're nuts. I'm not cheating on you." And it's like somewhere she knows that the person is cheating, and it's
Ah.
or he knows the person is cheating.
Yeah. But they
Um,
can't admit it to themselves, and because they can't admit it to themselves because they don't wanna believe it's true, then they have to hire someone like you to s to validate their bel the what they
Or
yeah.
already know.
1 second,
Yeah.
isn't it also the case that they want an investigator to get proof in case of a court case?
Mm.
Generally not, because actually in Massachusetts, it's no fault. In other words, you can have 10 girlfriends if you want to,
Okay.
and it doesn't have any bearing on the case at all.
But how
But I'll tell you guys a funny story.
I have one
So
question on that one. I didn't make a note.
okay. I once had to follow this woman who was quite old. I will say that she was maybe mid-70s.
Okay.
Um, and she was still pretty cute, but the husband was convinced that she was cheating on her. And so I followed her around, and she would go into like sewing shops and like Marshalls and like Sears, and and I think she just wanted to get out of the house, cuz to get away from the husband. But anyway, but it was kind of like endearing in some ways. I was like, and part of me is like, man, I still want to be like hot enough, in my mid 70s, that my husband's like thinking I might be like up to something, kind of
Uh,
thing.
I love it.
by the way, when you're doing this, are you do you have like a camera with you? Are you taking pictures? Like when you're trailing, or what would you call it when you're following someone like this?
Surveillance.
When you're
Yeah,
surveilling them.
I do, but you know what? I just use my iPhone. It is actually a lot more. I just pretend I'm taking a selfie and I'm actually taking a picture of them, or I pretend I'm talking and fighting with somebody on the phone. And also the other fun thing too is I have lots of disguises as well. I've done everything from,
I'd love to see them.
oh my
Like
god,
right
no,
now. Bring it on.
I've been like a homeless
Oh
person. I
yeah.
I have been like a jogger. I've been a mom with a carriage. I've like you just a businesswoman. Like you have to fit into the. I've been a realtor. You just have
You'd
to
be a
kind of,
good private
I
investigator. You
think
know
I'd
that.
be a good private because I could be anything.
yeah,
The
different wigs. I've
Yeah,
been
I was gonna ask though, like,
it's so
have you
fun.
ever been caught when you were surveilling someone where they caught you and said, "Oh, what are you doing? You're following me?"
Uh, You know what? To my knowledge, no. I've never been confronted that
Uh-huh.
way, and I always get my person too, which
Yeah.
is crazy to say, because
Mm.
Sarah,
Yeah.
Why did you do that to answer the question?
Mm.
Wait, what? What's that?
It's that one time you don't want to talk about.
No, no. I mean,
No,
I'm
no, what you saying?
I'm very, very good at it. I mean,
Yeah.
I've had to chase Porsches
Like,
screaming up the
do
highway
do
at,
you change at home, or do you go to your office and change? Like, does your partner get to see you in these different roles?
Oh, yeah. No, I fooled him the last time because I was dressed like a homeless person, and, he didn't recognize me because, like,
I love it.
I don't even drink, and I had, like, a paper bag with a bottle in it, and he walked right past me, and I was like,
We should do that
"Oh."
to Ronnie.
I'd love to do that.
Sarah,
Yeah.
we did a show once on intuition and
Mm.
gut feeling.
Mm.
And I'm wondering, first of all, can you differentiate? And if you can't, he'll answer the question. And secondly, to what degree do you experience gut and intuition in your line of work?
Ooh,
And if you don't want to answer the question, then just say next.
no, I mean, I think it is, unfortunately, I think I have a bit of a gullible, trusting nature. So I think my gut feeling has to be pretty profound in order to kind of get like a sketchy feeling about
Mm.
somebody. But there's certain people, I think it's less a gut feeling rather than, I mean, it is a gut feeling. It's like, do I believe this person? And
Mm.
sometimes with people also, do I wanna work with this person? It's
Yeah.
like, this person's just difficult or sketchy, or there's something that it's not worth the or they ask me to do something that's kind of, like, marginal in my I just like, "No, no,
Mm.
thank you. Not interested.
Wow.
Thanks very much," so that's,
And
that's
when you're working, how does like the payment work? Is it like we give you a stipend, you get like we negotiate an hourly rate, or is there a project, or how does it like that? How does that
I
work?
I have an hourly rate,
Uh,
and what I'll usually do is, I'll usually ask for, unless it's a company that I work for and I know they're good for it, and,
mm,
I'll usually ask for a retainer, just like a lawyer, and then
mhm.
I'll bill against that retainer.
Can we
Um,
ask how much the hourly rate is?
sure, it's 150 an hour.
150 an hour.
Wonderful.
Yep,
Mhm.
yep.
Um,
Um, and, Yeah, and work is pretty slow right now, though. Guys, the court system in Boston, at least, is totally backed up.
mm.
So a lot of things are sort of happening on Zoom, or not happening at all, or being
Yeah.
postponed. So that's
I,
that's the
I had a question
reality of it.
about the something else, but I can write it and Bambos can ask his question.
Have you ever had a case where it was so horrific, like
Mm,
possibly a murder scene, and it really hurt you? Like you come home and it takes you time to actually digest that actually is happening. And
Ooh,
how do you?
yes, yes, many, many cases like that, and I had a I've had any cases involving children,
mm,
are just gut-wrenching. So I really try to, in my line of work, and I have done this for such a long time, and I would not say at all that I'm callous about anything, but I treat the facts of the case as facts. And that is my job, is to really look at the evidence and figure out how it's going to play out in a trial.
mm,
So when I look at the evidence like that, I think there are certain facts that, it's funny how, when you have a trial in front of a jury, it's when you have certain facts that are presented in front of the jury, even little facts can turn a jury that is split, or
mm,
on its nose, and it will go a certain way because of small details. And
mm.
I think if you view things from the point of view of a jury, then I have a pretty thick skin, so I don't I really try not to, but certain things do get to you. My God,
Mm.
they definitely get to you. And but
When
I couldn't do this job if I were sensitive,
Mm.
super
yeah.
sensitive to that. And
When we did this, it was funny. I actually didn't realize it till just now, but like I'm now seeing that I have two visions for a private investigator. And
yeah,
the first one was like the typical. There's a dark brown office with full filing cabinets behind you and a wooden desk, and the glass says private detective, and that kind of
is there a
vision.
bottle? Is there a bottle of scotch, like whiskey, and
Yeah,
Obviously,
yeah,
somewhere on
definitely.
that desk,
Okay,
without a
okay,
doubt.
all right.
That was the first vision. But now the second vision, which is like the other portrayal of the private investigator, is the defense or the prosecuting team that has this outside person who investigates, leads, and tries to find ways to create holes in the other's arguments. And as
Right.
you've spoken, like that's kind of the investigator that I've clearly seen you more associated with.
Sure. No, absolutely. And
Mm.
it's not, I think sometimes it is, I mean, you're often, when you're a defendant in a case, your facts are often precluded from the prosecutor's not really interested in, if I go and what's a good example of this? Um the prosecutor's not really interested in exculpatory facts. Let's put it to
Can you
you
give
that
us a
way.
definition of
So
exculpatory?
inculpatory meaning that it's guilty, facts that make the person seem more guilty, or the
Mm.
Mhm.
facts that point towards the person's guilt. Exculpatory is facts that point away from the person's guilt.
Okay.
So oftentimes the prosecutor, they're interested in getting a judgment against the person.
Mhm.
There are prosecutors who are not like that. They're interested in the facts of the case, but that's how it breaks down. And so are the
Yeah.
police, by the way. So when you have a defendant, you're looking for that exculpatory evidence for that person. Now, you may find the guy or the woman is super guilty. It's hopeless. That's okay too. It's just that oftentimes in the case, especially a complicated case, you're going to have evidence that falls on both sides,
Mm.
basically.
And
And
if you look at in your line of work, I'm assuming you're working always on the defense, or will you also work in the prosecution support at
it
times?
sort of depends. Most times for the defense, though,
And
but
in
in a civil case, there's not really a defendant. Well, there is a defendant and a
sure,
plaintiff, but it's
but it's a
not.
different. But when you're
Yeah.
working in the ones that are, felonies,
Mhm.
the murder cases or things like this, when you're in it, are you like, I would say, what percentage of the people do you feel that these people are being accused and they didn't commit the crimes they're being accused of?
Mm.
Like, what percentage
Good
of that would
question.
be the people you're working with? You're just from feel. Can you say it?
No.
Okay.
Really. I think I'd rather stick to the facts, because I think that oftentimes somebody has done something,
Uh-huh.
but there are mitigating factors, whether it's
Okay.
self-defense, whether it is mental health issues. So I look at those mitigating factors,
Mm.
Got it.
and I'm so
Oh,
You froze for a second.
you're frozen.
You're
Follow our hands.
frozen.
Follow our hands.
innocent
Frozen.
cases too. Uh-oh, you guys, are
We're
you
waiting
guys
to
good?
get you. Yeah, we're waiting to get you back again. You're frozen for a bit. So whatever you were
Okay.
starting to say, we didn't hear a word of it. So we'll
Oh,
begin again. I
all
said
right.
to you, so we're not going to talk about the number of people, and you said mitigating circumstances is what you're looking for, and then that was when we lost you.
Oh, okay, okay. I don't know. Maybe it's the storm or something like that.
Mm.
So what I was saying is that I would be hard pressed to give you a sort of solid number on that. And oftentimes, what I was going to say is somebody has done something, but it's looking at the mitigating circumstances of
Yeah,
it and painting a fuller picture, basically.
got it.
And sometimes it's self defense, and sometimes yes.
Nice,
Uh-oh.
Thambos. That's the first time he's used the finger.
It's
This
second
is
time.
a second time. I've never seen him use the finger before.
It was quite a powerful moment. I might just do it randomly.
It was like an orchestra moment for you. Like, okay.
I love it. Sarah, So how do you balance? How do you decompress?
Hmm.
Do you have a therapist, for example? Do you have a mentor? Do you have a coach, or just a partner?
Well, let's see. How do I decompress? Oh, you guys really want to know? I actually like writing. I like doing yoga. I spend time with my daughter. I have a partner, and we travel and we have fun and everything like that. And yeah, I mean that's basically. But I'm always working. I'm
Hmm.
always working. I'm one of these people who, I if I'm not researching something for the podcast, then I'm working on my PI stuff. I'm a doer. I
Hmm.
like doing. So, and I cook and I like getting stuff done, so
Yeah, that
uh
makes three of us.
yeah, yeah. Oh yeah. Oh
Oh
good.
yeah, yeah.
Good,
We're all
good.
very focused on just doing shit. Just because just life without doing shit just doesn't feel as
It it,
exciting.
it doesn't,
Yeah.
especially this time, this weird COVID time that we're in. I think it's just, it's like get shit done. It will save your sanity, basically.
Yeah.
That's how it feels to me anyway.
Mm.
Yeah, for a lot of people, it's been like, oh, I have some time off.
Yeah.
I'm like,
But
really? What the
I know.
fuck?
I've never been
yeah,
so busy.
I've heard so much about those times.
I'd love to ask you questions. How do you begin to do a podcast on murders? Like, how do you transition from private investigator to say, let's do a podcast on Ivy League murders?
well, so I
What is Ivy League, by the way? Is that just a
oh
name, or is
I
it?
Ivy League. Oh, go ahead.
oh no, Ivy League are the eight uh yeah, top colleges in America. It's like Harvard and Yale and Cornell and you know.
Eight schools I would never have gotten into. That's what it is, Bambos.
I would have never gone
No,
into.
neither you.
I'm a
No.
dropout.
Yes.
Nobody
So,
nobody gets into them anymore. I
so,
think
but there's been murders associated to these schools. You mean?
there have been quite a number, believe it or not. And so there's a lot of true crime out there.
Hmm.
Movies, Netflix, there's a
Hmm.
unending appetite for it. Different podcasts that are a lot of them are really, really excellent. And we came up with actually my partner Laura, who's also just as crime obsessed as I am, came up with this concept even before meeting me. And then we met and she was like, "Uh-huh, Harvard PI. This is the secret, she's my secret sauce, I'm her secret sauce." So we put it
Yeah.
all together, and Laura's very smart. She is arguably more crime obsessed than I am.
Shall we
And
interview her?
Oh,
oh,
sure.
she's fantastic. She's a hoot. We rarely agree too. We're always fighting, but
Hmm.
I couldn't sometimes I super disagree with her, and
Hmm.
but she's my dear friend, and we have such a blast. We have so
So
much
you're
fun.
doing this together, if I get it
Yeah,
right.
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
In
And
fact,
it
I talked to her, and she's how you came on the show.
oh yes, that's right. Yes, Laura,
Yeah.
Interesting.
you don't say no to Laura. That's
Yeah.
my joke.
Look at the finger, Sarah. Look at the finger.
Okay. What does a finger mean?
The finger is, I'm trying to show him techniques. I have an easier time breaking into when someone's talking.
Okay,
And Bambos will sit there quietly, and then the person will continue to talk. So I've been trying to give him ways to sort of break in and then ask another question.
Well, it's funny because in real life, I can be very bum and people can be very shocked. So on the podcast, I'm trying to tone that down and find the balance. I'm using you to practice right now because I've been told I'm too intense, apparently.
Yeah,
oh,
So
oh, screw that.
exactly.
exactly.
No, use
So
that.
so Sarah,
Yes.
if you look back at before you were a private investigator
Mm,
and you kind of scan your past for suspicious moments,
mm.
did you ever go back with the mindset that you have today and like, oh wow, I see so clearly now
Yeah.
that this is how it played out?
Do you want to hear a funny story?
Oh,
Along
Yeah.
that line?
absolutely.
So I had gotten involved with somebody who I didn't realize was definitely had mental health issues.
Hmm.
Um, and we got involved. And as time went on, I kind of said, I'm not, I can't do this anymore. He was pretty verbally abusive, and
Mm.
I was like, yeah, no, thank you. And he would not take no for an answer, and he tried to break my door down. He was,
I thought you said funny story.
oh, no, it's not a no, funny,
Okay.
funny, strange, not funny,
Yeah.
Okay.
So I took a restraining order out on him. And then the police were trying to serve him with the restraining order. So I went and I stalked him. I stalked my stalker, and I tried to notify the police to let him to go and serve him. I was like, I think he's home. I think he's home. So I reversed tried to reverse the tables on the person, and that was one of the things that made me. And then I had a choice to kick over the restraining order once he broke that, to make it a criminal case, and I was
Mm.
like, I decided not to. I was like, you know what, if as long as he stays away, it's okay.
Mm.
But it was a very kind of an interesting exercise in some ways, even though it was, anyway.
Was there any moments where you would have had someone in your life that you would have been suspicious that they may have been cheating on you, and you'd say, now I actually see that they were cheating on me, I just didn't want to see it then?
He has something about cheating.
Yeah, because that was the question I thought you were asking her before,
No.
actually. I know it doesn't really matter, but now you've taken...
Yes. Oh, definitely. Definitely. Yeah. I've had a situation in my life like that. And then, there's an expression, like the cobbler's children have no shoes kind of
Yeah.
thing. I really felt like that is not only a personal insult to me that you did that, it's a professional insult.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It was while you were private investigating. Isn't it the best? Like, it's just like if you're a coach, if you're a success coach, and then you have like all these failings in your life, like it's the best.
Totally. Or like psychiatrists who are completely crazy.
Yes.
It's like, that
Yeah.
it really was a moment like that.
Mm.
He wasn't very subtle about it, but
No.
whatever. I wish
Maybe
him
you can
well.
rephrase from it.
What?
Well, from where I am today, if I look at anger, I no longer see anger as anger. I'll see it as, oh, wow, there's a lot of suffering apparently there. So
That
I'll
is
go back in my past and I'll see all the moments where I've been angry or someone's been angry with me.
Mm.
And I'm like, there's no judgment when I just see the pain behind the anger.
it's
So I'm
so
wondering,
interesting. Yeah.
from where you are today, when you look back into your past, do you kind of have those, like, any insights or discoveries just by where you are now? And, oh, wow, this is how it actually was from where I am now.
Interesting. I do actually, about anger myself, and I think you're right about the suffering, but I also think there's a lot of fear behind
Mm.
anger as well. I think fear is often anger is often a manifestation of fear, and it seems much, it's that's what I've noticed in my own looking back. But
Mm.
yeah, there's many moments like that, and I think it's just, you have to just remain teachable in life, and even all the the stuff that I've gone through in my life, even the painful stuff, you learn from it, and you
Mm.
grow from it, and you try to make just better choices by
Mm.
that's I, I don't know if I have any wisdom, and I I wish that I had done things differently sometimes in my life, especially as a younger person,
Mm.
because I had a lot of anger and fear and sadness, and didn't feel good about myself, and
Me too.
and so I wish this Sarah could go back and tell her it's going to be okay, and so I think but I do see other younger people, including my daughter, that hi. She's coming out. Wait, will you come and say hi to these guys?
No, I look really gross.
Yeah, come and say
Come
hi.
and say hi.
Come on, we came all this way to see you.
Super emo. You look great. Come on. This is
Let
my
us judge
beautiful
you.
daughter.
Let us see you.
Yeah. This is my daughter, Juliet.
Hi.
Hi, Juliet.
All the way from
Isn't she
Amsterdam.
beautiful?
Beautiful. We're not allowed to say that on air. I think it's always like this sort of thing. She looks stunning.
Oh,
Stunning.
she is. She is. Yeah, she's almost 14. So
Exactly. That's the
yeah,
point. You know,
yeah.
that's like, you know, the whole thing is you can't, everyone's made up so nice nowadays. If you say, oh, she's hot, you know, all of a sudden you like got a lawsuit on you, you know.
You got a private investigator up
Exactly.
her ass.
You don't have anything. Can't say anything nowadays. I have
Cheers, Andy.
cheers. I got questions for you. You mentioned, of course, a personal. So when I think of a private investigator at all, I feel my stomach with anxiety. Like
Oh, God.
I feel like, oh shit, I'm waking up this morning. I'm going to stake someone out. I'm going to follow them. I can't let them see me. Like that my adrenal glands start to like kind of get accelerated at the thought of that. And for you, is this just like every other day? Or how do you feel? Is there excitement when you're doing this, or how is it?
It's a total adrenaline rush, you know, and it is. Oh, it's a total adrenaline rush. Yeah.
I actually see you doing selfies and posting them on Instagram. Today I am a I'm a
yeah,
prostitute.
yeah. No, it's super fun, and it's a crazy way to make a living. And the yeah, and even going and interviewing people, and oh, I have met such, like, I can't tell you, I've met such lovely people and had such great conversations with
Mm,
people. That's part of my job I can't really do right now, and it
yeah.
kind of breaks my heart because
Mm,
I
Mm.
just I love, even aside from the evidence, and I've had such funny, quirky, great experiences just going and talking to people, you know, and
yeah.
people like to chat, you know, and they,
Yeah.
whatever reason, they'll talk to me.
I'm
So
sorry, but I want to stick with the salacious a little bit more. So if you catch a husband or wife, either one, cheating on the other.
Here we go.
it's got cheating on the mind, you
I
know,
know, because
Andy,
this is what I think of private investigators. So
what the hell?
I need to satiate this. Is there a moment when you give them a manila envelope with black and white pictures of their husband or wife with somebody else? Does that ever really happen, or is that just in the movies?
That's kind of in the I hate to tell you, yeah, it's kind of in the movies.
She does.
You know.
She said she doesn't send envelope. She sends with her iPhone.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
she could keep the.
yeah, it's mostly, it's not as romantic as the, like, I don't have a trench coat on with a manila folder and,
Uh-huh.
you know, yeah, we're not meeting in a car and it's
She's
raining
dispelling all of
outside.
my projections of this.
Let's just leave Andy on the side for a moment. Have you, as a female investigator, have you ever experienced any challenges or contractions, like, they might pick someone else, a male investigator, or has being a woman ever been an issue in this job? Pretty much.
To be honest, I think it's an asset. I think it's an asset for a couple of different reasons. And depending on, okay, if it's a surveillance, would you want me sitting across from you know, in a neighborhood where there's a school and a playground? Would you want me sitting in a car or some big burly guy? No, Andy, no. Neither one of you
Burly.
guys. I'm sorry.
Burly.
You know, I'm going to be able to fit into the canvas. I'm a mom waiting for her kid. I'm
As
a,
opposed to a male pervert.
Yeah, exactly. Waiting for the
We're
girls
naming
to
it
come
here.
out. Yes, I got it.
there's that, and also I think that people, and this is my little study that I've done on it. I think women are more apt to speak to me because they
Mhm.
feel safer. If I knock on your door and I'm a big burly guy, I'm not going to answer it. Whereas if I knock on your door and I've got, you know, basically I look like a realtor with a clipboard, you're probably going to open the door to me. You know,
Mhm.
men will talk to me for couple of different reasons. Uh, you know, they are, whatever, they're men, and oftentimes I think for men, they feel like they're being impolite if they don't let a woman in and talk, you know, to talk
Mm.
to them.
Or
Now,
she's just hot.
Yeah,
so, you
let's
know,
just
that
name it, Rambos.
We
I
are.
Yeah, I think it's an advantage.
We're starting the show like that. We're ending it like that,
Yeah,
Andy.
we are.
Look, she's
That is
fixing her
not
hair.
I
It's
just want
working.
to let you know that is not a silhouette of me in the background.
Yeah.
Make
Yeah, that's not Sarah,
I
by
think
the way.
I actually have a nicer body than that. But
I was gonna say it's Andy, but
So I want to go back to cheating couples now. No.
have you
Andy,
actually? I
the
do.
cheating thing. Listen, no.
Have you ever, during your investigating a couple,
Where you-
saved a marriage?
Oh yeah.
Oh,
that took her
well,
off.
no, I'm not. I can't say I really have. I mean, I think I have. I think I've also worked on cases. I had a case at a hotel one time where I stayed in the hotel because the guy was convinced the woman was cheating, and
Mhm.
I kept an eye on her, and I'm like, she's she's not. She's
Mm.
not meeting up with anybody. She's not meeting anybody in the restaurant. There's nothing going on,
Yeah.
and so that
Wow.
you do get that paranoia too of like, you know, um, usually
What,
it's like one of the couple, they were like both out of shape and one got into really good shape and the other
Yeah.
one's like, wait a minute, you know what I mean? Like,
Yep.
who are they getting in shape for?
like what kind of profile man or like couple normally would come to you? Is it really wealthy people, or
Mm.
like do you have like a pattern? Like
Well, I mean, people of the way I try to kind of work my business is I can usually tell when somebody it has limited funds, and I try to do a little bit of a Robin Hood thing. I mean,
Mm.
I need to get paid. I need to put food on the table. It's not that, but I will also try to kind of, you know, yeah, I'll try to I'll kinda do it at a slightly lower rate for
Mm.
me. I don't wanna be unfair because somebody can't if they really need an investigation and they
Mm.
can't afford it, I've also worked on tons of state stuff where it's very little pay, but you are helping people that are needier economically
Yeah.
than, trying to.
actually, it just blows my mind that couples actually don't talk or even ask those kind of questions. Hey, hon, I feel really insecure.
Yeah.
I noticed that every time you leave the door, I feel da da da. And I just want to ask, like, are you sleeping with another person? Like,
Yeah, but you would be surprised how I think cheating is a strange thing. I think cheaters get off on the sneakiness of it, and they get off. I mean, look, if you're going to cheat, you're cheating for a certain reason, right? You're married to someone, but you don't want to pay them a bunch of alimony, let's say. So
Mhm.
you hook up with your 25-year-old secretary because whatever.
Yeah. Mm.
Um, I mean, to me in the end, I think the cheater suffers more even than the person that's cheated on, because I'm sorry, it's just you're kind of a shitty person if you cheat on somebody.
Yeah.
And it's like honesty is the best policy, and if you're not interested anymore in somebody, then you owe it to them to
Mm.
tell them and that you
Yeah.
want to move on. It's only fair. Oh, do business
Interesting.
partners.
Bolalong, who is in South Africa, our avid listener wants to know: do business partners investigate each other?
Of course they do. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Especially if there's some kind of like an M&A, a merger and acquisition.
Mm.
Absolutely. They want to find out if the person's resume is for real, if their
Mm.
assets are in place. And
Yeah.
oh yeah, they definitely.
But I harped in on the relationship thing only because I had that as a negative predisposed idea of a private investigator. But that's less than 10% of the work you do.
Mhm.
So what makes up the bulk? What's the bulk of the 90% of the work you're actually doing?
It's here's what's fun about my job. It can be year to year, day to day, week to week. It's different every day.
Well,
So
okay, tell me what the weirdest one is. What was the weirdest situation that you had?
make us laugh.
Yes. When did you have to dress up as a clown and go to a party or something?
Oh, that's
That
funny.
happened.
Oh
You're
God,
good.
weirdest. Well, God, you guys are putting me on the spot here with this. There have been
We're
many,
bringing
many.
up the ratings.
I think the weirdness is more like the characters that you run into doing this job. Like, I remember going into the projects to interview somebody. He was like the father of the defendant or something, and he was like the guy's alibi or something like that.
What's
And
project?
A
oh, the
bad part of
project,
town.
like, yeah, it's like the big buildings in New York with, like, anyway, so I went and I knocked on this guy's door, and he had all these terrain. First of all, like, he had all these terraniums of like snakes and turtles and fish that he had caught in the nearby pond near these projects. And it's like, so here's this guy with like, and he's bathed in like this bluish green light of all these terraniums. And I'm interviewing him about, it wasn't the most exciting case, but
Yeah.
like, that's the kind of weird that you get. You get,
Hmm.
and I've had surveillances in like I had to go to like a Texas two-step thing one time and pretended like I was doing Texas two-step to keep an eye on this person,
I love it. And did you actually did you do the dance or not?
Oh, hopeless. Are you kidding? I've never done a two-step in my life, but
Sounds like an 80s comedy
okay,
with
no,
Sandra Bullock comedy.
yeah, exactly. No, but
Uh,
there are some very weird. I mean, if I have some weird cases, but I would need some time with you guys to like really lay it out, like to do it justice in
I
terms.
have two more serious questions to ask you.
Okay.
The first one would be, have you been on other podcasts?
Yes, many.
And has this been your favorite one?
This one has been fantastic.
Great demos.
No,
I feel like you're asking for votes.
I no, I'm not asking for votes. I can I say this is my favorite? This is near the top. Okay, I'm gonna say that. I'm gonna head my bet.
Sure, this stays the top.
We're just gonna take that. We're gonna pull that line out of the episode and just do an advertisement for it.
Yeah,
You're near the top.
on repeat.
You're close to the top.
And we have about 2.5 minutes. Is there any question that you would have liked us to have asked you?
well, no, I want to ask you guys questions about you.
Yeah, well, go ahead.
Yeah, well, like, how did you guys get together and get this idea?
Bambos was basically going homeless, and I said, Bambos, like, let's get you alive. And I took him under my wing. This is no joking. Like,
I was trying to start a photography business.
Oh God,
and
no wonder.
It was going pretty bad. And at some point, I met him. He was coaching me. I was just trying stuff out and failing, and I couldn't get clients. And at some point, I was just living off leftovers from the organic market and just really living a minimalistic life just to be a photographer.
No, yes.
And with Andy's help, I actually made it.
I'm so glad. That totally makes me happy. That and you guys are doing something you love, and you're great at it, and you're fun, and and you're near the top.
Yeah, and you're sort of one of these shows where, as you know, the shows, as we said, go all over the place. But for me, there'll be days when we're like, this is such a random thing. We just have to bring this on to discuss it because it's such a foreign, and you could hear all the prejudices through our question, at least my questions of the ideas I had of a private investigator. And now you've dispelled all those, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, I hope so. It's actually, it's kind of more
but it's a woman. We have to bring a big fat. What do you call them?
A bulky, or what do you call them?
Bulky?
Oh yeah, burly.
You have to
Burley.
bring a burly one
A burly one with like a
because I'm
cigar or something.
yeah, and the whiskey. Like we want one of those now.
If you know one of those, send them to us.
Okay. I will find you. I know many people like
And
this.
do you know anyone that works at a cemetery?
Yeah.
You know what?
We're
No.
looking for someone that works in a morgue. Like that's sort of one of our jobs that deep curiosity.
A little weird.
Yeah. Deep curiosity.
Deep.
No, offhand, I do not. But I do think that would kind of be a fascinating. That would be a fascinating. I know we have very little time left, but I do encourage you guys to and your listeners to listen to Ivy League Murders.
Yes.
That's our podcast. We're about 20 episodes deep. And I gotta say, I'm so happy with how it's turning out. It's so satisfying to do it, and I think we have a really unique
And for
thing.
those, can you give them a sense of what they can expect if they listen to that podcast?
You bet. Okay, so what our show is basically is looking at how sort of how the people who go to these esteemed institutions, the Ivy League, the top of the top, um, and how they, how we look at murders, we look at cases involving them and why they make these decisions, and the whole idea of like privilege. And of course, you should be exempt from this sort of
Mm,
human frailty of crime, of murder, of violence, of greed and sex and money and all the things that and why people make this ultimate decision basically,
Mm.
or become a victim of it basically. So
mm,
that's our show. And
mm.
Do we have time to ask one?
Obviously, we always go
Oh yeah, but
over.
I want to see Sarah's
Oh, from
time.
your side.
Is it okay to ask one more question?
absolutely, please.
We did a show on Blue Lives Matter, and one of the things which came up for me was the majority of people getting arrested in the US are Black people.
Yes.
And I'm wondering, like I don't know what the right question is, but do you have this experience?
Well, we talked to a district attorney who worked in Los Angeles for many years. He was a supervisor for all the district attorneys. And Bambos asked, he said, listen, why are Blacks disproportionately arrested to whites in just if you look at the statistics? And his reply was in the range.
Don't give it a reply.
Oh, okay. Well, I thought she could at least do her contrast against what he might have said, but that doesn't matter. Yeah.
So I have had a lot of clients who are African American, who are defendants. And my thought, I really think you have to look at cases case by case. And I have seen a lot at times, a lot of over policing. I have seen what I think is unfair arrests, arrests where I term it like, they're charged with walking while black.
Mm.
Um, I, but I I also do think, though, and I've sort of said it in my article in Harvard Magazine, that you have um, when you have a um, sort of what I see as a sort of a racial and a socioeconomic um, crime um, issue, which if you look at like Detroit, and you look at Chicago. um, I think that it's an enormously complex kind of issue, and a lot of it has to do, I really do think a lot of it has to do with socioeconomics. I mean, I'm Irish. Who were the people who were blamed for the crimes in Boston and prosecuted for them, were the Irish,
Mm.
because we were the people who were poor, and that's unfortunately I could talk to you guys for hours, about this, but I do think a lot of it is socioeconomic, and I do think that
Hmm.
um I do think there is systemic racism though in this country as well. But I also think that the police are the ones that are going to the scenes of fires. They're going to the scenes of violent domestic situations or a drug shootout, or they are dealing with this stuff face to face. And I think sometimes I think a lot of their responses are the way that veterans are when they go into war. It's like a response out of PTSD,
Mm,
not a response out of it's not in an ideal situation, I guess. So I think it's an enormously complicated issue, and my hope for my country, because I am an American, this is my country, is that we can that these issues will get better, that
Hmm.
there we have an enormous rate of incarceration. A lot of
Hmm.
those people are black and brown people, and that's not we need to be a healthier society, and that included for all of us, and that includes
mm,
getting rid of, you know, in that systemic racism.
yeah,
It's really a cancer in this country. You know, it really is.
yeah.
Um,
Hmm.
and not only Black Lives Matter, but Black Minds Matter too, and
Mm.
that is what I'm hoping to. I'm not running for presidency, don't worry, but I feel really, really strongly about it, because I do feel like it is somehow this country, we're missing the boat on true, good, healthy diversity. And
Yeah,
that's a shame for all of us,
yeah.
not just black and brown people. So, I'm sure I'll probably get in trouble for saying any or all of that, but that's my
Interesting.
observation, and
I
that's, you know,
my issue with like the whatever the issues in the US as they've come up is this degree of reductionism into dichotomies of
yeah,
good and bad.
me too.
So all intellectual arguments have basically been dismissed, because if it becomes any more complex, then the people's brains won't allow it to be. It's like, no, it either is this or it's that. You
No,
can't be
it
you
is.
can't be for Black Lives Matter and for Blue Lives Matter. You
Right.
can't be for both. Like,
It's
yes, you can.
so polarized, and
Mm,
what gets lost in it is, and I really think that you have to look at things. Yes, you have to look at things in a systemic way, but you also have to look at things in a case by case. And
sure.
that, any pushback is seen as like on either side is
Yeah,
like not acceptable, and that doesn't lead to an honest discourse about what the hell is actually going on.
yeah.
And so, yeah, I mean, I think it's incredibly complex, and I'm hoping that we can. I don't know. I'm hoping that we can
Turn the
be-
corner
become
on this.
healthier. Become more. Yeah,
I
turn the
mean,
corner on it.
the
Absolutely,
the prison system in itself,
that's
I,
insane.
it's insane because if I tune into that in my own journey, like imagine someone losing it for a moment and hurting someone. That person gets to jail, but in a way, that person could use, for example, a mentor or
Yeah.
some level of love to help them incorporate the experience and come back into society, and in a way putting them away, like, okay, it, it never sat in my gut in a way that, like, this doesn't make sense.
Yes, I think you're right. I mean, I think in general, societally, I think if we can even the playing field in terms of resources, in terms of
Mm,
in terms of education, in terms of chance to go to college, in terms of jobs, in terms of housing, in terms of then you're going to have a happier, I'm sorry, a healthy, big, healthy middle class is just
yeah.
healthier for any society. I mean, if you look at Atlanta is a great example of a very complicated African American city that has, guess what? You've got the super upper class upper middle, lower middle. You have a very textured, rich, African American city right there as a shining example. You know what I mean? Why can that not be used as a model for other cities? Because I really do think it's like a lot of it is socioeconomic. If people don't have a chance, if you don't have any economic chance, then you lose hope. You get, I don't know.
Yeah, I
They,
think that's what what I've seen, they don't really want to understand what privilege looks like because in some ways they believe it'll diminish the achievements that they've had in their life. Because if you acknowledge that you've had some privilege, that at the same time, you also may admit that if I didn't have that privilege, I might not have been as successful. And that's a hard pill to swallow for people.
yeah, but get over it, man.
I agree.
Yeah. Come on. You know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
We hope. Well, thank you.
Yes.
For being with us.
Absolutely.
And we're happy this is one of the top shows that you enjoyed being on.
All right, I'm just gonna say it. Okay. It's been the best.
Oh, Bambos. You're never going to ask that question again on any show. How was I? It was like when you made love to somebody right after. It's like, how was I? Was it the best? Was it the best?
I just wanted to put her in a very difficult situation. Did it work?
No.
I think it did.
Thank you very much. Yes.
So
Bye-bye.
super fun. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I'll find you guys a grave digger. Okay.
Thank you. We appreciate it.
All right. I want to keep you guys happy. Okay.
Yes.
It doesn't take much. Don't worry.
Yeah, it doesn't take much. Thank you.
All right, guys. Thanks a million.
All the
Bye-bye.
best. Bye.
So that was a long show.
Yeah, it was a long show. I think we kind of went into some different subjects. So there was a little bit of took us a bit of time to deepen into each one of them. Yeah.
I think the silhouette looks kind of hot.
It does.
Yeah.
It looks like a dancer and the waiting at the end of a tunnel for like a football stadium or something. So, Bambos, it's another week. For those of you who don't know, we've got 2 more weeks before we're going to go on hiatus. So we're going to apologize to Bowl Along now, who I don't know what he's going to do without us for those weeks. We're sorry. We've got 2 weeks. We're going to be taking a 2-month break.
We're back on my birthday, 13 January.
And we're going to kind of regroup, think about our format. And we've already got shows signed up, so we will be coming back for sure. But it'll be a little bit of time off just to check in with ourselves.
We have some new things coming up also.
Yeah, we're going to try to do some fun new things.
Yeah.
Anything else? What do
If you haven't already done so, follow us, like us on Facebook, on YouTube.
Please.
And if anyone knows Wim Hof, David Goggins, Russell Brand, we want them on.
We want them on. And we can't promise them much except for the bit of love and attention.
And fun.
That we can promise. And we've got edited podcasts. We've got 40 edited podcasts. Our best shows are being edited and uploaded from a sound engineer.
And you can see them on Spotify. Listen to them on Spotify,
Apple,
iTunes,
Google Podcast, any place where you can get a damn podcast, you can listen to these things.
Yeah.
Or you can even say, "Hey Alexa, play a Wonderful Chaos." How cool is that?
Sales. This is not very salesy.
I thought that was cool. I can pick up my phone and say, "Hey," no, it's not Alexa. It's Siri. Hey Siri, play a Wonderful Chaos podcast. Then we'll come on. Yeah. How cool is that?
That is so cool, Andy.
And we will see you on Monday. We have 2 days to take a little break.
Are we interviewing you on Monday?
On Monday, Ronnie and you will be interviewing me on And It's Fucking Great. The whole movement project and everything in between. Ronnie looked at me and said, "What the hell am I going to ask you that I don't already know about you?" And I said, "You'll figure it out."
Yeah.
So we've got that coming
we're
up on
Monday. We're gonna make Andy squirm. Don't worry, guys.
Oh, nice. I like that. And we're going to do that on
A Wonderful Chaos.